Welcome to EDMM 4020 Supervision of Industrial Operations. This module focuses on management models, but first I want to give you a little bit of overview of the course. What you see in this slide is actually an overview of our campus, what was formerly known as the Parkview Engineering Campus and now named the Floyd Hall of Engineering in honor of Dr. Elson Floyd, president of Western Michigan University, who really was responsible for getting this building and set of facilities built out here. So why study supervision? That's an important question to ask, not just because you're taking this course, but in general, as an engineering manager. Why do you want to study supervision? Think about that. Well, there are many reasons why, and we'll go through and talk about some former managers. On the left, you have Jack Welch. Remember what organization he was involved with? That's right, GE, General Electric. He was CEO for about 20 years during that time. As of course, it was also during the greatest bull market in U.S. history. On the right, none other than Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple, formerly called Apple Computer. They did drop that name in some of his later years. Of course, Steve Jobs is no longer with us, having passed away a few years ago. Tim Cook is now in charge. Here's a set of contemporary managers, and you can see a variety of people here. Ursula Burns of Xerox, Meg Whitman, formerly CEO of HP, CEO of Oculus Rift, Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, Marissa Mayer, CEO of Yahoo. And for those of you outside our area, you may not recognize this person as much. That's right, John Brown, former CEO of Stryker Corporation, which is headquartered here in the Kalamazoo area. But what are some trends in supervisory management? You saw examples of people who are managers, but when you start supervisory management, you're basically dealing with one of the lower levels in the organization. But I know that many of my students here will take on greater management challenges as they progress through their careers. But you see here on this slide, I don't need to read it to you, you can read it yourselves, about the trends in supervisory management, and a lot of it has to do with instant global information sharing. No longer do you need to wait for a lot of reports or get IT to print something for you. We generally have access to a lot of the information that we need pretty easily. There are a lot of changes with respect to teamwork and unions. Unions are becoming less powerful in organizations. A lot of regulation and oversight, particularly if you are ISO certified and if you have products that are regulated by the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, which includes medical devices. Of course, the need for a lot more continuous education and continuing education, and of course the changing demographics and world that we face and live in. But what are characteristics of effective supervisors? We see four of them here. That supervisors that are effective are systematic. They make decisions and take actions that follow a set of procedures and are consistent. They are knowledgeable. They know things about their application system that they're working in, whether it's manufacturing or service, and they're knowledgeable about the process of and practice of supervision. They are ethical. They know when to make the decisions that are the hard right instead of the easy wrong. They know how to play off the trade-offs and to make those decisions, difficult as they may be, to make them the right way. And they are innovative and creative. Not only can they create solutions to meet particular needs, but they often come up with creative solutions to problems that are not something you normally would face in traditional manufacturing or service environments. Supervisors face different types of decisions and problems. And here we have a list of characteristics of exceptional supervisors that was found in the research. Competent, caring, committed. They push for high quality. They provide clear direction. Take the initiative in implementing changes. You can see the types of things that help develop what's called an exceptional supervisor. And I hope that many of you strive to be exceptional in your practice of supervision. And here are those skills again. There are different types of skills required for effective management. Conceptual skills help you identify the mental ability becoming aware of and identifying relationships among different pieces of information. To be an effective supervisor, you need to have good human relations skills, understanding other people, good administrative skills, managing, again, the paperwork or the electronic version of that paperwork, and of course the underlying technical skills so you can have intelligent conversations with your employees and so you can vet ideas and get improvements in place. So now let's look at some of the management models and supervisor relationships that are important. Here's a model that's attributed to Harold Kerstedt of Virginia Tech, Professor Emeritus. The management system model looks at three components that interact. Basically, who manages, who is the manager in that system for that domain of responsibility, what are the physical, tangible things that they're managing, and then what tools they use to manage, right? So information will flow in this clockwise direction, right? So we take measurements from the system, convert them to data. Our management tools convert data into information. We portray that information to managers who perceive it and who make decisions that affect the actions they take. If we go in the counterclockwise direction, we're basically in the tool development mode. And we get into that in more depth in one of the other courses in our engineer management program. Who are some of the key pioneers in management? Well, here I've listed two. Frederick Taylor, who is essentially viewed as the father of industrial engineering. He developed scientific management, which was focused on improving operational efficiencies. He brought about piecework, been paid by the piece instead of getting paid by the hour. Henry Fayol came at it from more of a management point of view, advocated the study of management. He had principles related to the classics of planning, organizing, staffing, and controlling. So when we look at different managerial levels and managerial skills, we find that supervisors are more reliant on their technical skills but less reliant on the conceptual and administrative skills. But as we move over to top management, the technical skills become subordinate to the need for more conceptual skills and administrative ones, because conceptual ones deal with some of the more creative, visioning type things that are needed at the higher levels of management. You wonder why a supervisor feels stressed? Just look at this picture. All right, supervisor interacts with so many different people in the organization. He or she has their own direct reports, employees. They have peers. In terms of supervisors, they have the union steward, if you have a union in your organization. They have mentors. They have their manager they report to, and then there are other managers that they would interact with based on the sorts of things they would be doing in their organization. And there you have some call-outs on those ones. So how do we deal with a more diverse workforce? That's really a challenge for a lot of us in supervision and management, because there's a wider range of distinguishing characteristics that we see, particularly in the U.S. We have variations across gender, age, ethnic origin, and other factors. We also have, particularly in engineering and technical professions, a glass ceiling. And that is an invisible barrier that limits women from advancing in an organization. And so when we deal with diversity, it's not just a minority. We're dealing with a very substantial portion of the population that does not have equal access to some of the opportunities that are out there. So a lot of times you'll hear about the management pyramid. And again, when any discussion of management models would want to look at this management pyramid to see how responsibilities and authority changes as we go up the pyramid. At the level of supervision where this course is targeted, there are a large number of direct reports the supervisor will have. And so therefore, and a lot of those employees do not, they're not going to corner you for an hour and talk to you about some improvement process, because they're getting paid by the hour. They need to be on the line earning their keep. As we move up to higher levels of management, including middle management and top management, we have fewer direct reports, and because of that, people have time to spend talking with others, and becomes more of a cognitive involvement with the manager, more thinking rather than more doing. So it would not be uncommon for someone at top or middle management to have an employee come to them and spend an hour or so talking about a particular work issue that would need to be addressed. So at the top, you're responsible for a major segment of the organization. The middle, a lot of its translation of operations results into upper level reports. And at the supervisory level, controls smaller organizational units. So a while back, Henry Mintzberg did a study on what do managers do. And following Henry Fayol's work, well, managers, what do? They plan, organize, lead, control, direct. But his study, as part of his doctoral dissertation, Henry Mintzberg that is, discovered that a manager's life isn't that easy. A supervisor's life isn't that clear-cut. That they perform a set of unrelenting tasks, or a set of tasks at an unrelenting pace that average about 7 minutes throughout the course of a day. So it might be a couple hundred tasks. Well, at 7 minutes it wouldn't be that many of them. But you get the idea. Many tasks that keep changing in a very short period of time, but the roles that they play follow these lists here. Interpersonal roles, which are very familiar with for supervision and leadership. You might look to and see, CEO plays a lot of a figurehead. And various scandals and product liability issues come up. It's the CEO who goes out and takes the heat, typically, and when the resignations or firings come, they're the first to go. Informational roles, a lot of times managers are called on to, we basically are information processors as managers. So therefore we monitor information, we disseminate information, and we speak for particular units of the organization. And then decision-making roles, allocating resources, handling disturbances, negotiating positions and contracts, and being entrepreneurs. But why do supervisors fail? Why do they fall off the cliff sometimes? Well, research shows it might be because of it can be because of their insensitive, intimidating style. It could be because they are arrogant, cold, and indifferent, unwilling to listen, too political, or they're micromanaging, spending too much time telling the employee what to do, how to do, when to do it, instead of letting them figure out what to do and do it at their particular pace. It may not be the same way the supervisor does it, but it still produces the results. And I guess we saw that on a previous slide, so no need to repeat that, about the different relationships the supervisor has throughout the organization. Here's that classic supervisory model. I put a traditional supervisor in there just for your amusement. And again, Fayol's model, Henry Fayol. Planning, organizing, staffing, leading, and controlling. Although I mentioned it is a traditional model, it is the one that your text is organized around. We will take time because these fundamental topics are important for being a successful supervisor. So I say, is it still relevant? I believe so, but many of the ways that we practice management, it's not so sequential, not so